Yeah, okay, I'd like to call a meeting to order at 4:16 PM. Item 2, roll call, Eric Brown.
Here.
And Tom Barney.
Here.
Eric Brown is new to the committee, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Item 3, agenda revisions and approval.
Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Item 4, approve of minutes. Approval of the April 10th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Motion to approve April 10th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Item 5, consent review and discuss April, May vouchers. I did not have any questions this week, but there might be some. Brittany, please.
I did receive a few questions. One of the questions was regarding a Follett School Solutions order that was placed recently for our libraries using common school funds or library aid funds. It was asked what books were being purchased, so those books have been given to our committee for review. The process is that the librarians review the books before they're purchased. So on the invoice it lists each book out. So Mr. Ewert is reviewing them at the moment, and you are all welcome to review them as well.
They were all elementary purchases as well, is that correct?
Correct.
All
Well,
right.
there's one KMS,
One
but that is
KMS.
an
For 80.
excuse me, audiobook for a teacher for $85. You might see that in there as well. And then I did receive a few other questions, and sorry I sent it to the wrong email address. I typed in your name, and that's as far as I go. So I will correct that in my
That's all right.
emails next time. So we did start doing the research on your questions. We have a few of your answers, and if I don't have the answer tonight, we should get responses by tomorrow, and I'll send it to the committee. One of your questions was regarding Destination Imagination. There were 5 entries, and I believe this question has came up in the past from Mr. Loth. There were 5 entries for the same dollar amount that obviously repeated 5 times. This comes out of our student activity account, so it is a purchase for each, not a purchase, it is the registration for each group. So it's going to be the same dollar amount, but we have to put it in different accounts. So the $38,000 is actually split up between 5 accounts, but you're only seeing it one time. The other question I received was regarding the New York Times subscription. We do have an email out to the high school librarian. It is an annual renewal. We believe it's for the high school only, but I will find that out and reply to the committee tomorrow. And what are other national news sources do we subscribe to? The answer right now is that I don't know, but when we get the answer from the librarian, I will follow up with the committee tomorrow. Crown of Life yearly memberships. For our title grants, we have to spend a certain dollar of our title dollars on the parochial schools. So this is one of their memberships that their teachers.
Yeah, so part of our Title II funds, any private school that falls within the Germantown School District boundaries, a portion of our federal funds goes to those schools per federal funding rules. And Title II money was spent at Crown of Life to utilize for professional development. They determine how they're going to spend the funds, and then our teaching and learning department take the appropriate funds and make the purchases, since we are the gatekeepers of the federal funds. So they met the requirements of what that funding can go towards. Mr. Miziak then in his office purchased for said school, since we oversee the budgetary title funds.
Got it.
And then the last question was regarding powerlifting coaches memberships. We're still looking into that, so as soon as I get the answer, I will reply to the full committee. Those are the only questions that I received via email, unless there's additional ones.
Yeah, another one that's not real clear, you know, in the vouchers, but we also bus students to parochial schools within our boundaries. You know, it's part of state law.
And even a couple miles outside of our boundaries.
Fine.
Yeah, 5 miles outside, but it's only to one school. So St. Mary's has this particular end of Washington County, so we bus to St. Mary's, which is just across the county into Waukesha County. Seems kind of weird, but that's how it works. And sometimes we have, you know, depending on the school, they might want to fight over this area because they want to bus from this end of the county elsewhere in Washington County, and you know, we did do it for a while, but it got too expensive, so we stopped. We stopped a couple of years ago doing that. So we didn't do it, then we did do it, then we stopped doing it again just because the dollars, you know, got out of hand. So that sort of thing happens too. You see all the neat things you find out
Yeah.
once you're on the finance committee meeting.
Got it.
But anyway, that's that.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Michael, just for transparency.
Yeah.
I have a student, my son, who's taking a Start College Now class. His tuition is listed on the vouchers. I abstain from voting for the approval of that. I'm gonna abstain from making a motion or voting on the voucher approvals as well.
Okay, so
So
How does-
you
how
or
does that
Eric
work?
will have to make the motion, and then your 2 votes will still approve it.
okay. So
So I will make the motion to approve the vouchers for April 10th.
okay, I will second it. So it is a motion by Eric Brown, second by me, and so Eric Brown, motion, second by Michael Loth. Tom Barney is an abstain.
Correct.
Right.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. All right, the item 6, April variance report. Brittany,
I think that I gave a little background on why we do the variance report at our last meeting, did I?
Little
Otherwise,
bit.
I can do it again. So, when I meet with each one of you, we'll go through all the different funds, all the different ways that we do all our accounting, the account codes that we have to use, so you'll know all the details of that. But our 2 biggest funds or areas of spending is special ed and our general fund. That's where we spend the largest amount of funds. So each month I will go through what is called the variance report that goes through those 2 funds, expenses, revenues, this year compared to the exact same time last year. So you can just basically a simple sheet that's showing comparison of where we're at today versus where we were at this last year. It basically allows the committee to see anything or me to report anything to the committee that might be coming up, that might be different than it was the previous year. We might be spending less, we might be spending more, just so we're tracking throughout the year where we're at, and you're not surprised at the end of the year going, why did we not know this might be happening?
Right.
So that's why we've started this. So this is the April, so this is through April 30th. The expenses and revenues compared to the previous year are similar. The expenses are about $400,000 less now than they were last year, and the revenues are about $400,000 than they were last year. Our budget is less than last year. So that makes sense, right? Special education budget, it stays consistent. We try as much as possible. It cannot or should not be going up and down. It should stay consistent. We have to complete a report called MOE, or maintenance of effort, that basically says we're spending the appropriate amount on our special ed students compared to our regular ed students. We can't fund this one a lot and this one not so much. We have to be comparable. So if you have a spike in special ed one year you have to show why you do. If you have a decrease in special ed one year, again, you have to show why. That's why it's the maintenance of effort. We're putting as much effort into these students as we are into these students. So being consistent year over year is normal unless there's a reason, then we have to report the reason. So you should see special ed pretty much consistent unless there's a large claim that comes through, or some, a student left or a student came to our district. One of the other areas that I wanted to point out that I've been seeing a couple months now is some areas that have gone over budget. Specialized transportation. We are looking at some alternative ways to transport students. Buses isn't the only way that you have to transport students, especially if a student is, like one student is going to a certain school. You're not going to have a bus drive them there. There's other ways to transport. So we're looking at some alternative ways to transport students that might be more cost effective for next year because we went over that budget this year. And then another area that we are watching is health insurance because, as you know, we went self-funded in January. Billing is completely different for self-funded health insurance than it is for fully funded health insurance. So that's another area that we're watching closely. In May, we are doing a projection in my department to see where we think we're going to end spending. So we project out payrolls, we project out all the benefits, we project out any expense that we have sitting out there. We review all the encumbrances, which are basically open POs or POs, but the bill hasn't been paid yet, so it's promised money, but it hasn't been paid yet. So we go through each one of them to say, did you think you were going to spend your money, so you put a PO in there, and then you're not going to spend it, so then we have those dollars, or did you spend more than you thought your PO was going to do? So we go through each one of those, and then we close out or liquidate anything that is like, thought I was going to, but I didn't, or maybe the PO went through, we paid it, and we didn't take away the PO. So we go through all that, and by the end of May, we should have a pretty good projection about where we're going to end the year. And then in June, I usually come to the board or the committee with what I call my spring expenses. And if we are projected to be under budget and we have some items that we need that weren't in the budget, I come to the board and say, are we able to purchase X if there are funds available? So that would be my goal to come on June 12th. Ask if there's additional funds for purchases. That's all I have for the variance report, unless you have questions.
Got it. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for me, in the full board meeting, since I don't wanna redo the entire finance committee meeting, just give the Cliff's Notes version, as I call it. I'm always a little unsure what to include from this. And I don't want to just rattle off a bunch of numbers, but I also don't want to ignore, Brittany's work on this. So I mention it, but, real quickly, and I think Brittany's okay with it. She could always raise her hand and, holler about something that, if it was really important, during the meeting, and I would likely see her doing it. So I kind of go through this quickly, just because it's the Cliff Notes version, and that's why I say the full finance committee is on video, and anyone can go watch the video, when we're in the full board meeting.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah, so that's it. There's nothing to vote on for the variance report. Next item is unfinished business. There is none. And then item 8. New business, 2023 through 2028 capital improvement plan, and it should go right to Frank Lord on this one. Thank you, Frank.
Yes. So this is the 2023 5-year, essentially the updated of the 2022 with the 27, 28, I believe it went up to, for the 5-year, I believe. It is an ongoing document, so anything I really wanted to point out is if you did have the 2022, you might see things switch just because of things such as boiler replacements that we didn't foresee being an issue that might now take a precedence and then open up what I like to say another planning year for another project. So as moving forward, I will add things on as I see as a capital improvement. And update this document moving forward, and that'll be what I share with you guys. And I do plan on doing a 2022-23 recap for the next meeting. just to kind of keep in boundaries, so. But I removed it, again, for the transparency of following the 5-year.
Can I just add something really quick? The capital improvement plan is what we call Fund 41, or capital improvement budget. It is part of our revenue limit. The more money you put in this area, it takes away from another area, but it's needed. So in past, we had approximately $600,000 in Fund 41 annually, which is brought in by property taxes and state aid. We reduced that a few years ago, and we're working our way back up to that $600,000 by $50,000 additional each year. Each year you have to have a 5-year capital plan approved by the board, so that's what we're doing tonight for the next 5 years. It does change. If for some reason there's a budget item number in there and it's higher or lower, Frank can come back to the board and say, I know that you approved this, this and this has changed, we'll just reapprove it, just so you know why it's coming to the committee.
Got it. Frank, did you want to speak to the HVAC at Kennedy that's in the report in regards to ESSER?
Yes, so I had left it, as far as the date is, I think it was at 24, 25, if I'm not mistaken, for our Kennedy project. The only reason I left that in there is for the transparency, where I will not remove it unless I have a confirmed date that we'll be doing the install. It's kind of a whiteboard effect for myself, that it doesn't go away until it is for sure done. So that is something that would then be moving into the 22, 23, and that spot would then be filled by yet, let's say, the 6th year out of another project or another HVAC project, if that makes sense.
Got it.
That's,
Yeah.
Thank you.
just otherwise I would continue for the 10 year, and 10 would turn into 20, and I wouldn't stop.
That'd be a lot of paper.
Yeah. There you go.
Hey, for Amy Bell, I see there's a installed building generator there. Is Amy Bell the only school that's lacking a backup generator?
Not in full, but it is one that has more of a need for sure. And I can't fully explain it as of yet, but I know that area is, it seems of a high rate of power outages.
We've lost power intermittently 3 times this year for extended periods of time because of We Energies and
Sure.
lines going down, so.
So
Not enough to close school, it
Yeah.
came back on, but it'd be nice to have for water and bathrooms.
Right. Yeah, that was my next question. So the generator's big enough to handle the well, the septic, and, I don't know, I guess emergency lighting.
Yep.
Right, okay,
Yep.
good. And so the other elementaries don't necessarily have backup generators? Okay.
Nope.
Just wondering on that. Okay, sounds good.
I make a motion to move forward with a positive recommendation to the full board to approve the 2023 5-year capital improvement plan.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown. Any discussion?
My computer's down, so.
Do you have a copy of it?
Yeah, if you have a copy, that'd be great. I did
You
have a
have to
copy.
give it back
but
though.
I will. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I think, I'll mention for Fund 41, since 2012, we've had this, prior to Brittany, it's been as high as $1 million per year. So more recently it was 600,000, and it's been cut so that we could, try and add to fund balance. And, you know, there's always something going on somewhere. You know, it could easily still be $1 million, but you know, we're just, doing the best we can, with the funds that we have available. So,
The way that it's laid out, I'm sure you've noticed, is that it's by site. And
Yes.
then after you go through each site, then it's by year.
okay, well, that's all I have on questions or comments. Got anything, Eric, or?
I'm just going over it real quick to see if I can remember some of the things I may have marked.
Yeah, I think for me, everything we've kind of seen already,
Yep.
or at least I've seen it from the building committee angle, so I might have been, cheating in that regard. I kind of knew much of it, and, but my question was about the generator that Chris kind of answered, and Frank. If it was only big enough to do emergency lighting, it wouldn't be much good, right? You know, 'cause we still need water and, sewer, which is, septic, which is actually across the street to the south of, Amy Bell.
I think I'm good. I think the questions I had I get it now.
If there's any follow-up questions that you have, you can email us and we'll be happy to reply.
I did notice, as far as the needs rating, there's very few 1 and 2s. I mean, we don't have the luxury of doing some things and
Oh.
Yeah, I think to that, a lot of variables again, but between the 1s and 2s, I try to break those up as much as they can be, you know, such as an enhancement or something along those lines, or more of a cosmetic. I try to break those up into smaller projects or fit them within some of these other projects for planning purposes. As far as, let's just say that I think the number one here in mine, at least I should say, I'm assuming you're talking about classifications now. Most of them will lay out within that safety and or failing, which is what the boilers do come down to, which again might change again in the near future if I would like to look deeper into a couple of the other boilers to maybe do a flip on those earlier than what was initially anticipated.
okay.
Yeah, I don't think our upcoming building tours are necessarily to, you know, examine the boilers, but if we, you know, I would expect the equipment room door to be opened and say, yeah, there they are. Anybody that wants to walk in for a few seconds will do so, and hopefully there isn't any water running on the floor when, you know, we walk in for those 2 seconds. But I definitely want to see the new boilers at Amy Bell. You know, they might not be working on doing anything on June, hopefully.
Yeah.
June 3rd and June 10th. Hopefully they're off, but you know, we'll see them anyway.
I think, if you guys don't mind me jumping in, seeing some of the stuff pointed out on those tours will be beneficial to help us understand kind of the priority that you're setting on. I think that helps make decisions, and then from what I'm seeing, this looks like a really good continuation from last year's that I got to sit on and really dig into, so I don't see anything too off the path from what you kind of already had planned for, just another year added and some stuff shaped around it, so. Very good.
All right. No questions, no further questions. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Item 8B, monthly purchase requests exceeding $15,000. And we've got the GHS roof replacement. Frank Lord.
Yes, this is part of the roofing schedule that has been on the capital improvements since I've been here, and even a few years following that. By the looks of it, it's a 25-year-old roof. Fairly important roof, as it's above the science wing area there in the high school, which is pretty much our top tier in the front end of that building, and it has been a consistent piece of Swiss cheese, as I like to call it, since I've been here. We've been doing minor repairs, haven't done anything major, but it has definitely seen its time and be a perfect opportunity to replace with this summer.
Yeah, so prior to the referendum, it was always stated that we had 20 acres under roof in the school district, the whole district. So we would try and do 1 acre per year, and we're on a 20-year schedule to avoid what Frank was just talking about. Now with the referendum, I'm not sure what the new number is. It might be 25 acres under roof, for the entire district. I don't really know. Doesn't mean we are going out to a 25-year schedule, but what was done under referendum is relatively new, so we're not going to get hit with that for whatever it is now, another 17 or 18 years. But anyway, we might end up in the near future doing a little more than an acre, to keep up with the 20-year schedule. And in some cases, it's going to be bigger because eventually the field house is going to come due, and I don't know what that is size-wise, but it's at least an acre itself, I believe, or more. So that's a story on this sort of thing. We'll see this type of roofing every year. I don't know what size this is here, square footage wise. It's probably
It
not
was
an
just
acre.
under 14,000.
Yeah, so it's not an acre.
Yeah.
But the price, typically, we were also in the 250,000 a year for the summer, to do the roofing project. And a lot of times it was more than one building, we would get to, but it looks like it's just the high school this year. So that's fine, I would say. All right, I will take a motion.
Make a motion to move forward with a positive recommendation to the full board to approve the replacement of GHS, roof section EE using FJA Christensen in the amount not to exceed $207,221, funded out of the capital improvements budget.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown. Any discussion? Any further questions?
I guess I do have one more quick question. Is there any section on this, on the building, Germantown High School, that is scheduled in the next year or two? I didn't see it in the.
I'd have to look at, I don't believe, if there is it is, I'm trying to think of the section offhand, but it's right in the center of the building here. It's right where the referendum pretty much began, but it's a very small section. Otherwise, the majority were within the other schools for the next 4 years for sure. Sorry, don't quote me on it, but I know when I was looking at the schedule, I'm pretty sure that's how that laid out.
And it would have been listed on this sheet?
Correct, yep.
Okay,
If I did everything properly, yes.
okay.
Which I stand behind.
Because I don't see anything else at the high school for the next 5 years.
No, we have actually the high school for the size is in very good shape right now. We're hitting a little bit of a lull as far as replacements, which works out perfectly because in this case, I will say we did have MacArthur as a roof replacement. I actually did get a number on it, but because of the boiler offset that we had this year, that one then got pushed to next year because it is in relatively decent shape, and I feel like we can get one more year out of it, just to stick within budget.
Yeah.
So the satellite photo we're looking at, pretty much every roof section that's black is referendum construction.
Yep.
And then the only thing that's not black is that was referendum is the pool in the upper left-hand corner there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it. Anything else? We're good? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. And it looks like I'll need one more motion.
Move we adjourn. You want to stick
I'm gonna
around?
drag this out a little bit. I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown to adjourn. Any questions? None? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. We are adjourned at 4:46.